Need more Grok Talk? Well, you can catch new shows Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Miss a show? Not a problem. Past shows are rebroadcast here daily from 9 to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Join us for 2 hours of unapologetic conservatism. And we're not just armed with opinions. Welcome back to Grok Talk. Brought to you by the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers and the bloggers at granitegrok.com. We should just call this FOB Grok Talk. What do you think?
That would work.
Yeah. Right on the front lines in the battle for New Hampshire and the nation. Conservatism.
And general overall tomfoolery.
Yes, and general overall tomfoolery.
After all, we do have to have fun at doing this.
Yeah, we do. Otherwise, it's just a total drag.
It's great having you here, Skip.
Yeah, total drag. Yeah,
much more fun having the extra people.
Your first appearance this year, is it?
Yeah, actually, it has been. And I'm glad to say it probably will continue on now that stuff is getting out of the way.
All right, well, we're not going to talk about you because we have a guest on the phone. Senator Bob Smith joins us. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, guys. How are you this morning?
We are outstanding. Thank you very much for joining us. So there was
and gals. We have two ladies with us this morning.
Well, good morning to you too.
Guys is genderless, just like everything else now.
I don't know. I'm microaggressed.
You're microaggressed. Okay. No trigger warnings. Sorry. Plenty of triggers in the room, but no trigger warnings.
Not a safe
space. We are. It's definitely
I'm not comfortable.
No. We are. Senator Smith is an advocate for Senator Ted Cruz in his primary campaign for president of the United States, and there was one of those debate things on Thursday night, and the senator has joined us today to give us some a little bit of conversation about that situation. Good. So just take it away.
I have a particular observation about Megyn Kelly, but let's see what you get to first, Senator.
Well. Yeah, those who didn't participate and those who did, I guess. Well, it's a political season like I've never seen before, but whatever, whatever happens, happens. But I have been, as you know, and full disclosure, a strong supporter of Senator Cruz because, and I'll try not to give you the typical, party line here, but I really believe that we have a great opportunity nationwide, but certainly here in New Hampshire and Iowa too, for that matter, to elect a real conservative, somebody who really is a consistent conservative who has
from the scene,
and is now and ever shall be a consistent conservative. And I think why take a risk when you don't have to? There are those who, have done things in the past. They say they've converted. Well, maybe they did, but maybe they didn't. So I'm going to stay with a guy that I know has been a conservative down the line, and God knows we need a conservative in the White House right now.
So we had how do you think the debate went? How do you think the debate went?
Well, I think with Trump out of there, Cruz was center stage, and so, everybody was firing away at him from the moderators to the other participants, and, he held his own. I think that, when you're getting hammered, you're on the defense, and that's what you just have to fight back. And, but I think, really with now in Iowa where that debate was really focused, it's all now about organization and turnout. I mean, that's the bottom line. You're 2 days out or less. You've got to get your people out to vote, and that's what it's all about. And my own opinion, even in debates where he's done very well, it doesn't really, to me, I don't see anybody deserting Senator Cruz on if he fumbles a line or whatever. I think that people who are with him because they know what his beliefs are and what he's pretty much kept his word on everything he said he would do. So I think that's what's going to carry the day for him in Iowa and hopefully nationwide to be the next president.
What do you think having been in Washington, D.C. for a number of years and experienced the glory of the legislature down there, what do you think are the advantages that Senator Cruz would have, say, over anybody else?
Well, I think the advantage would be to me as a voter, and before I answer your question, I wasn't going to get involved in any candidate for president's race. I was simply going to stay out of it, but I got motivated when I talked to him and heard his positions. But I think the real interesting and I think the most dramatic tenet that to me that makes him the best candidate is 3 years ago or 4 years ago when he ran for the Senate in Texas, he made some comments that he was going to do what he said he was going to do, that Washington was not working. The cartel, if you will, was running the whole country, and he was going to take them on, whether they be Democrats, whether they be Republicans, or whether they be the lobbyists or whoever. He was just going to do the right thing, i.e. he came in and, led the fight on the filibuster against Obamacare and other issues. You know, we could rattle off all the conservative issues from pro-life, pro-gun, amnesty, and all the other the issues that we've been fighting for as conservatives. But he did it, and so you have a unique situation where he is the only candidate who said those things and then did them. So technically, I guess people would say, well, he's not an outsider, he's an insider. Well, at some point, if you say you're going to do something and you go to Washington and then you do what you said you do, then I don't view that as an outsider. I view that as somebody who went to Washington to make the changes necessary to change our country and to save our country. So he's demonstrated that. I mean, it's not easy. Look, I've been there. I know I've said on the campaign for Senator Cruz that he reminds me of me when I was there, because what they do, the establishment, whether it's the Republican moderate leadership or sometimes the Democrats, but usually your own party leadership, they try to marginalize you. They say you're anti-sociable or nobody likes you, and it's not a matter of like. I mean, I think to me it's a badge of honor if people who are ruining our country don't like me. I think that the real issue here is who do the voters like, not who do the people in Washington D.C. like. It's who do the voters like, and the voters obviously are responding very well to Senator Cruz, and to me this gives us for the first time since Reagan, we have a legitimate chance to elect a strong, consistent conservative to the presidency. One final point, because I know you have a question. You know, last time in 2012, Romney was pretty much the establishment guy. They had a candidate. This time, certainly here in New Hampshire, but nationwide, there is no prominent candidate from the moderate establishment wing, so to speak. Somebody who's running in that vein, and so this gives a conservative a chance to win, and a legitimate chance. So, to me, I want somebody who's going to do what they said they're going to do. They're going to change this country, buck the establishment, and if you want to go along to get along, well, there are a lot of other choices in the race.
You know, one of the things as I was driving in today was to gladly see that the State Employee Union, SEIU, which is one of the socialist ones ever nationwide, and I've written about them in the past, had these two huge Bernie Sanders signs out front. And I said, great, thanks for letting us know where you really stand, because he is an outright socialist. And that's what he says, but as I'm digging deeper into his background for stuff to write about later, it's much, much worse. But here we have what you called during your election the big, bold colors of difference. An outright socialist who would rather take over as a communist, to be perfectly blunt, versus Cruz. And and we've come out for him. We have endorsed him for full disclosure, and I have endorsed him personally. So I'm on the same page as you, Senator. But I'm looking at the electorate, and you're looking at the two out of the three frontrunners and the huge crowds that Bernie and Trump are gathering in, and you got to go. Has the electorate changed? Has the left successfully infiltrated our education system so that they don't understand what conservatism is? They don't understand what the Constitution really stands for. They don't understand the philosophy of this government. And is that going to hurt Ted Cruz as he starts making the final pushes through the caucuses and the primary?
Well, that's a great question, and it really is. I mean, I've not heard that asked anywhere of Senator Cruz or of me or anyone else out on on the stump, and I think it's a valid point. But clearly, the left does do that. They the political correctness, the fact that you really don't, the Constitution, even social studies for the most part, is really not taught. If it may be taught, but not the way it should be taught. You don't learn very much about the Constitution and our history, unfortunately, in some of the schools. And Common Core, with the federal government running it, a liberal federal government running our educational system, that makes it even worse. So you have a good point, but I do think that maybe this time we're seeing some the electorate waking up to this fact. Although Trump, it's hard to pin him as to just exactly where he is. I mean, he makes some very good points, conservative points, says things that probably some of us would all like to say from time to time, and gets away from the political correctness. But there also, what I think is lacking, and I don't mean this as an attack on Trump, I just mean it as in terms of understanding. I think there's a lack. He certainly does not have the depth of understanding of the Constitution that Ted Cruz has. I mean, you cannot run this country as a dictator. Businessmen and women make decisions, and then they either rise or fall based on the decisions they make. That's the way a corporation is run, and that's fine. But that's not the way the United States government is run. We have three branches of government. You've got, whether you like it or not, you have to convince the Congress and ultimately the American people to get behind you to go in the direction you want to go. And that's not easy. But leadership is not following. It's not even following the people. It's leading the people. And that's what the Constitution is all about. So I can only hope and pray that the American people understand this. I mean, look at the issue of eminent domain, which is getting some traction here in New Hampshire. I mean, we saw the Souter case, where we now have Donald Trump and David Souter on the same side of this eminent domain thing, where you can literally confiscate a private person can confiscate somebody's private property for private use. New Hampshire passed a constitutional amendment in reaction to that, and so it's interesting to me that if you're for Donald Trump and you're a conservative, I don't really understand it. This private property takings, yes, you get compensated for it, but it is your property, and if you don't want to sell it, you shouldn't have to sell it to some other private individual who's going to do something that he thinks or she thinks is better. And so this guy, if Trump is elected, he's going to appoint 2, 3, maybe even 4 additional Supreme Court justices. I mean, do you want Cruz justices or do you want Trump justices? I know what I'm going to get with Ted Cruz. I'm not sure what I'm going to get with Donald Trump.
That makes a lot of sense.
And to be honest, we can't afford to make a mistake. I mean, the Supreme Court justices are around for, depending on how old they are when they get put on the court, but 30 or 40 years after a president leaves to make decisions which really can have a negative impact on our country.
Well, there's only 1.5 constitutionalists in the race. That's Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. And Rand Paul, not because he isn't a constitutionalist, but because I don't think he has a fighting chance anymore.
No, Rand Paul certainly is a constitutionalist. I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. The rest of them, not so much. And you need somebody who understands and reveres the Constitution at a time that's critical. But the couple of points I wanted to make, I read a story this morning that was really interesting. In early January, as late as that, Rubio is out there getting himself some faith-based advisory board, because maybe he needed to be told what faith was about. Meanwhile, Ted Cruz has got more than 500 pastors backing him and faith leaders, including 125 in Iowa alone, which is amazing.
Well, it is amazing. And the thing, I've gotten to know Senator Cruz over the last 8 or 9 months. I didn't know him at all when less than a year ago when I met him. And I can tell you, he doesn't wear his religion on his sleeve. He believes. He's a true believer, and that's. But more importantly than him being a true believer himself is the fact that he understands completely where our Constitution came from. That it's deeply seeped in natural law, the whole evolution, if you will, of the that our rights, certain rights that come from God, that are now, have in effect created this Constitution, which gives us basic rights, human rights, which we are entitled to. We don't have to recite the Declaration of Independence of the Constitution. All of you understand it. So this is why it's so important. Our Judeo-Christian values. These are the values that created this country, and so we are running now a grave risk of losing this. I mean, to allow people in our country who will destroy those values, who already have, in a violent way, not in a legal way, but a violent way, is just simply insanity. And Cruz understands it, and so it's tough. I mean, but leadership, as I said, is standing up, doing the right thing in spite of the pressure to go with the flow.
Right. And I just wanted to cover one other thing. There was the stunning admission by Megyn Kelly. So in the debate, she played a couple of videos. She went after the jugulars of both Rubio and Cruz on immigration and claiming they had flip-flopped. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Jeb Bush, for going after Rubio so effectively on that topic and abandoning his friend. But it was the post-debate where she was talking to Cruz, and she said, "I've done all the research, and you're completely right. It was a poison pill."
And this is very, very difficult to explain. And I do appreciate the fact that she gave him that in that interview, because it is true. When I served there. I served in committee. I have done exactly what Cruz has done that he's talking about. It's just very, very difficult to explain it. He looks bad in a commercial because they make him look bad in a commercial. But the truth is, there are such things as poison pills where you try to embarrass the other side, and you're not for the underlying bill. You're just trying to embarrass the other side and say, okay, so you don't really want to change anything. But Rubio's position is much worse, 10 times worse, because Rubio joined the Gang of Eight to literally allow for amnesty. I mean, he joined the other side. He joined the quote-unquote bad guys like Chuck Schumer to do this, the Gang of Eight. Whereas Cruz was in the committee trying his best to expose the pro-amnesty people in that underlying legislation. But it's not easy to explain, and frankly, when you have ads running against you like they're doing, like Rubio is running against Cruz now, it's difficult to explain. But I hope people can understand that when you do what Rubio did, which is to sign on to a pro-amnesty bill and try to persuade your colleagues to do it, that is overt action, and it's pretty obvious what's going on, and that's why Rubio had to fight back with those ads.
Senator, we're out of time. I got to cut you off. I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today.
All right. Well, hope everyone votes. We are getting pretty close.
Yes, sir, we are.
May the best man win.
All righty. We're going to go. Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye.
Thanks for your time.
All righty. Yes, I did turn all the microphones off because we were very close to the end, and certain people like to talk when I'm trying to finish. So, this is Grok Talk. We'll be right back with David McIntosh from Club for Growth. Stay tuned.
Excellent. Rock.